Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace the slave cylinder on this 1975 MG Midget. So this particular car, like most of the newer ones, have the 1500cc engine in it, and consequently you're going to need a different slave cylinder than most of the older style Midgets and Sprites and so forth. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the issues that I'm having. So I bought this car going on about 3 weeks ago, and one of the things I knew needed eventually replaced was the slave cylinder. Didn't expect to have to replace it so soon, but nonetheless. So here's kind of what happened. I was out driving, teaching someone how to learn to drive stick, because they'd never done that. And I noticed that I was having a really difficult time even driving out to the area with even getting it to engage with the clutch. So it wasn't wanting to engage, and then it also did not seem to want to downshift. So I could shift up 1, 2, 3, 4, but like shifting back down, it was not downshifting. So I decided I'm gonna just get the slave cylinder replaced and see if that fixes it. So I ended up purchasing the parts from Moss Motors. I got the classic gold slave cylinder, and then also just a new replacement line. Since then, I also purchased a new grommet and new bolt for the slave cylinder to hold that in. Fairly simple. I believe it was a 5/16 by 24 teeth or threads per inch. It is a 2.5-inch bolt that you'll need if you do choose to replace it. My other one probably would have worked fine, but for an extra $5, I was like, I might as well replace everything while I'm at it. So that's what I did. I did use DOT4 brake clutch fluid, brake and clutch fluid. So that's what I'm using there for that. And I will mention I'm kind of recording this now that I actually finished it, the intro for this video. But overall, it was a fairly simple fix. I was quoted by a shop around $650 to do this work. Probably spent 3 to 4 hours on it myself. Very simple actually replacing the parts. Honestly, it was easier to replace the slave cylinder on this car than most of the work that I've done on a 2007 truck. So have nothing but good to say about it as far as repairs. It's much simpler. And I also seem to have saved $750 or $650, somewhere in that range. So yeah, overall, if you need to replace your slave cylinder, follow along and I will walk you through the steps. Thanks for following.
So here it is, I'm under the vehicle. As far as locating it, it's fairly simple. We've got the transmission right here, or the gearbox cylinder for the clutch. And then right here in the video, you're seeing the actual slave cylinder. So not fully sure how I'm going to do this all, but my goal for now is I'm going to try to loosen the nut right here where my index finger is, and try to drain this line. So I've got a new slave cylinder, and then I also purchased a new line as well. So I'm going to be replacing both of those. So again, I'm going to attempt to loosen that one nut and drain out all the fluid, and then remove the cylinder and work from there.
Hey guys, so I got that line off. Went pretty well. A little bit difficult, but that's kind of what I'd expect for an almost 50-year-old car. I did forget to mention, so I needed a 1/2-inch wrench to do that. Fairly simple. So now I'm going to let the line drain, and in the meantime, I'm going to disconnect the top end of that fuel or the oil line. So we're going to be working back here in the back. So we've got the master cylinder reservoir on the left and the slave cylinder reservoir on the right. So I'm going to be disconnecting the line. Okay, so I got that one off. Went quite simple. Show you guys a close-up what we're working with. So pretty much just right in here. So this line connected directly to the slave cylinder reservoir right there. So that's what I'm unhooking. This is the line that we're replacing. Appears to run through the back over by the battery and then down through the engine compartment right there, so you can kind of see where I'm pulling on it right there. So gonna work on that, try to get that out and then get the new line back in. Hey guys, so I got that line out. Came out really quite simple. Again, just a 1/2 inch wrench. So here's the line, not real long, but about 2 feet or so. Pretty simple. So did have a little bit of difficulty getting it through the hole where the grommet is. I'm gonna have to replace the grommet. It was shot, but that's kind of what I'd expect from almost 50-year-old rubber. The hole's a little bit small and it took a little bit of finessing to get the largest section where the wrench goes on through the hole, but overall pretty easy. So yeah, I'm gonna go get myself a new grommet and then get this new line back in and try to get on to actually removing the slave cylinder.
Okay guys, so back here underneath the car, looking at the slave cylinder again, just getting ready to actually take that off. So it looks like it should go fairly smoothly, hopefully. Again, just it is also a 1/2 inch, probably gonna use a socket here on this bottom nut, just a regular nylon locking nut. I believe it's got a nut or a bolt that goes all the way through it. Likely we'll have to put my 1/2 inch wrench on the top as well to get it to come off easily, but that's gonna be what I'm gonna try to do. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a shot. Okay guys, so the nut and bolt came out quite easily. I ended up grabbing a hammer and punch just so that I could punch the bolt back up through that hole right there. So had a little bit of difficulty trying to loosen this slave cylinder from its holder. So I tried to channel locks, that didn't really seem to work. And then I ended up grabbing a 13/16 wrench. I'm assuming that's the rough close size, but maybe metric, not really sure. And I was able to get it on right up in there. Sorry, the light kind of is deflected right there. But basically up on that notched area, and that was enough to work it loose. So that's kind of the easiest thing I've found so far.
Okay, so the slave cylinder's out. Came out actually relatively easy, not too difficult. So one thing I didn't mention earlier, and I meant to, so I drained all of the clutch fluid into this oil container. So there is very, very little room in the reservoir and line to hold this fluid. So if you're low, you don't have much to work with. And I know that for certain because I had already topped off the fluid before. I'm working on replacing this to see if that was my issue. So I'll show you quickly what the new versus old slave cylinder is. Sorry, it's a little oily, but really pretty much identical part. Slightly different looking, ever so slightly, but other than that, very, very similar. Again, I got it from Moss Motors. It was like a $15 part. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a try. Probably end up trying to put it on tomorrow or something. I'm not sure I'm gonna have time today. But yeah, overall everything's went well. And I guess the new line in comparison to the old, this red one's the old, this whitish one is the new. So fairly simple there. And give that a shot and hopefully it fixes my issue. Hello again everyone. So this morning I ran into town and got some new hardware. So I ended up just getting, it's a 2.5 inch long, 5/16 24 threads per inch, grade 5, that was all they had. Should be more than sufficient. I did get some new grommets as well. Ended up getting a little bit too big of one, had to cut it down a little. So far that's been the most difficult thing. So I've got the new grommet back in and the line through as well. So I'm gonna now try to get the slave cylinder back in. I'm gonna fill it up with the clutch fluid first and try to alleviate as much of bleeding as I can. So I did get a 31/32 outside diameter, 1/2 inch interior diameter grommet. interior diameter size is correct. The outside diameter is a little too big at 31/32, so had to trim that down a little bit. Shouldn't be a big issue, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to get the slave cylinder in, and then we'll go from there.
Hey guys, so I'm back down here under the car, just got the new slave cylinder in. Really went in quite easy. Had a little bit of difficulty trying to get it started where it squares up with like the housing that it goes into, but other than that, pretty easy. It is at a slight angle from the area where you can get a wrench on, so you have to get that twisted about where you can see it is now, so that you can get your bolt through the slide or the slight notched area in the side of the slave cylinder. So yeah, did lose a decent amount of the clutch fluid that I had put in there, likely because the ramrod from the housing was forcing it out the green cover end. But anyway, tried to keep as much of that as possible. Now going to hook up the hose that you can see ran down through to the green port, and then I'm gonna fill up the hose and slave cylinder with more clutch fluid to hopefully make it easier to bleed. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Okay, so just got the line hooked back up. That's kind of what it looks like. Again, I replaced that nylon pipe running right into there, into the slave cylinder, and that runs up. Kind of fuzzy there a little bit, but yeah, so that I've got it connected to a new grommet right there, as you can see, and new slave cylinders in. And yeah, now gonna try to go up there, fill up the line with the clutch fluid, and then hook it up to the fluid reservoir.
Hey guys, so I attempted to put fluid in the line before I hooked it up to the reservoir, and that did not work. Tried to do it with this, like a dental syringe, and I could not get it to go in. So that was kind of bad attempt. It didn't work. Hopefully it will all be okay. So I ended up just hooking it up, filling up the reservoir with fluid. I know I didn't mention it earlier. I am using Brake Best Select synthetic .4 clutch fluid, brake and clutch fluid. So that's what seems to be recommended. Did a little bit of research. You do want .4. .3 is not what you want, I guess. Not fully sure why, but you just want .4. So now I've got about a foot long piece of spaghetti hose that I'm going to hook up to the bleeder nipple on the bottom of the slave cylinder, and I have also filled up a cup with about an inch or so of the clutch fluid. So gonna stick that inside it, connected to the nipple, grab my brother. When you depress the clutch, it sends the fluid through the line. So thankfully, I think that's how I'm gonna try to do it. Again, this is kind of my first time at this, so don't really know what I'm doing, just kind of trial and error. And I'm working through a little bit with Haynes auto manual for this Midget, and gonna try to get it bled out that way. So hopefully that works. Okay, so we just attempted to bleed the clutch line. So pretty much what we did is, first of all, make sure your fluid level is full. Before I pumped the clutch, I don't know, maybe 10 times or so, just to get fluid through the lines. You can see it moving through the line as you pump it. And from there, I put the roughly 10 or 12 inch long piece of hose, connected that to the nipple on the slave cylinder, and then got a cup with about an inch or so of clutch fluid in the bottom of it. So then what I did is stick the cup up over the hose, and then my brother got in the car and slowly depressed the pedal. So I crack the nipple line open before he pushes it in. He'd push the clutch all the way down slowly, and then I crack the line back closed. So after that, then he'd let off again, and we'd repeat the process. So we did that probably 20 times or so, and every 3 to 5, he'd hop out, check the fluid level, top it off usually because he'd need more. So got most of the air out, not positive at all. Is gonna give it a, lower it back down and see if I can give it a quick test drive, and hopefully it will be working. Hey guys, so I just got back from a quick test drive and everything is working much better. So now I can engage using the clutch, works far better. Still getting a slight bit of grinding when I try to downshift. Not sure if that has anything to do with my synchros or whether that is all in the slave cylinder, but I was able to downshift, so that is a huge relief, especially figuring that a clutch is a lot more work than a $15 slave cylinder. So yeah, everything worked, at least so far. I'm gonna keep driving it and hopefully it will continue to work. So anyway, thanks for following along on this journey. I really didn't know what I was doing, but tempted to jump in and just wanted to share this video with you because there didn't seem to be too many videos on how to replace the slave cylinder on the 1500cc engines. So anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.